Okay, you're live.
All right, thank you, Hillary. And thank you everyone for your patience in getting everyone here on one screen. Mr. Mayor, would you like to kick things off?
So I'm about to be at my desk, but just want to welcome everyone to 2021. It's just a few days away, and we'll be removing the worst president we've ever had for the environment in history, I believe. We count the Industrial Revolution. Also, I do believe this tough year of 2020 was a message from Mother Earth that she needs to breathe. And so for 1 year, we drove less, we walked more, we rode bikes more, we enjoyed our green spaces, we discovered our families again. And it was a great moment for the planet. I'm looking forward to continuing the good work that you've all been doing way before I got here in protecting our environment and making sure that our city has some of the highest standards when it comes to environmental protection. So I want to thank you for the work you've done, and thank you for letting me be part of it and making me look better, and looking forward to all the new initiatives we do this year. Thank you.
Okay, just so everyone knows quickly who's on the phone here, on the meeting. For our stakeholder members, we have Jesse Iliff from the Arundel Rivers Federation, which is the South River and the Road River, but the South River for the city's purposes. Tom Gay and David Barker from the Severn River Association, Amy Clements, Spa Creek Conservancy, Elvia Thompson from Annapolis Green, Suzanne Etkin from the Watershed Stewards Academy. Randy Rowell is a member from the Environmental Commission. Betsy Love is Severn Riverkeeper Program. What else we have on here? Jim Burdick is the Severn River Commission and the Weems Creek Conservancy. Let's see, I don't think I missed anybody from the stakeholder groups. Then from the city, we have Susie Smith, who's the Chief of Staff. Hillary Rafkovich is our technical person today. Archie Trader, Director of Parks and Recreation. Mike Johnson is the Director of Public Works. Betsy McCune is here from Public Works. Mike Lyles is on the phone from the city. He's the city attorney. Adetola Yahi is here from the mayor's office. Dave Gerald, city manager. Kwaku is from the Department of Transportation. And Racine Hodu is our environmental programs coordinator. We do not have Carl Schross or Bevan Bukeister or Joanna Ogburn, who's the Annapolis Conservancy Board and Bevan's with the Annapolis Environmental Commission, but Randy is here in her place. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Rob Savage is here, representative from the Environmental Matters Committee.
And Sally Nash from Planning and Zoning is here.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, so let's start off with Mike Johnson. I had a lot of questions over the last few months about erosion and sediment control, particularly from SAYC and the Parkside Preserve. And I had questions that we could asked if we could include an update on how stormwater controls and compliance is being handled, especially at these two sites. Mike.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And I'm glad to sort of be here and to meet again. Basically, I'll just go over, take each of them separately. At SAYC, there have been some historical problems that the developers had with ESC controls. We've been working assiduously to get him to come into compliance, and I think we've been successful with that. Yesterday, the inspector performed a grading check and was able to report that all the ESC measures are in compliance. All the areas are stabilized with seed and straw, and all the building pads are currently in use, or they're in some stage of construction. We had to issue I think there were two citations in the inventory and the history of this job, of this project, excuse me. One in March of 2020, and that was a $500 citation. And then one again in August and that was $1,000. But basically, the superintendent has been very cooperative and has worked well to make sure that the ESC controls are in good order. Any questions before I move on that? No? Okay. The next one was Parkside Preserve. That site has been a little complicated in that there's been a change of developer over time. And the first set of big complaints we received were in November of last year. That was regarding sediment flow into the Quiet Waters Park. And that was a report that was made to MDE, who, the officer assigned that reached out to our stormwater staff, who, we performed an inspection. We generally found that the perimeter controls were as per the plans. However, the contractor, the new developer, had a working stockpile. So as he graded on a daily basis, they would sort of stockpile soil. And he didn't really have adequate controls around that stockpile. So when you had precipitation, you were getting some turbidity flow, turbidity in the sheet flow that was coming off the site. So we required him to install a reinforced silt fence around the perimeter of that working stockpile at the end of each working day. And that seemed to address, the main issues with that particular site. There was also a site visit that was held yesterday to address some other issues that are not ESC exclusively, but his truckers who were bringing in his supplies or hauling stuff in and out of the site had taken the liberty to close or access ingress or egress to Annapolis Neck Road. And he seemed to also be doing some dewatering that required him to be running his generator continuously during the period that was occurring. And he did not really notify the adjoining property owners, which was not really courteous on his part. So we had a meeting with him yesterday, and those matters were addressed. I believe that he understands the severity of those infractions, and has committed to us that he would do a better job in terms of controlling his trucks, as well as communicating. A lot of it, failure to communicate sort of exacerbates the situation, makes something small into something major, involving levels that really don't need to be involved to resolve a matter that's fairly simple like this. So that site is also felt to be in good order. Are there any questions on that?
Hi,
Jesse?
Director Johnson. Yeah, Jesse Iliff here. I wondered, I haven't been able to figure out in any of the documents that I've looked at for this site whether it's got general permit coverage or a individual permit. Do you know that off the top of your head?
I don't know that, but I think the permit probably is most likely a general permit, I would think, but I could double check that. And sort of, I've seen your emails. I could shoot an email once I check and confirm that.
Okay.
There was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I accept that offer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that there was some sort of like administrative snafu whereby the correct permit was not posted. The permitted party was not posted. The old party was posted. I think that was corrected back in December, early December. I think there was a wind storm or some kind of high winds which had temporarily blown the posting off, and I had my inspector, reattach that more firmly so that the site is properly posted with the permit. But I'll double check that and shoot you an email with the response.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so
Okay.
without any more questions, we can move on to the next item. I had a lot of questions, so I put this on the agenda about, first of all, control of trash and stormwater runoff from the Spa Road Public Works Facility, and whether there have been any contemplated or uses made, future uses, decisions made with regard to future uses or things that we're considering, which Dr. Nash may be able to address, but Director Johnson can talk to stormwater controls at that facility.
Okay, at Spa Road, there were a couple issues that I sort of observed with the site that we took steps to correct, and we made some good strides with correcting the type of runoff. I don't think that we can stop the stormwater runoff from the site, but a couple of the things that were occurring, we have sewer vector trucks. These are the trucks that are used to pump out the sewer, the lift stations and things of that nature. And the utilities staff had been washing out the tailings of the truck. That's the residue that remains over at Spa Road. And that is fairly close to one, that wasn't really a correct procedure for them to be following, because they didn't really have the correct diking to prevent any effluent from running into the creek. So what we did is that I stopped them from doing that, and we worked out an arrangement with Anne Arundel County to use their Patuxent water reclamation facility where they have drying beds. One of the challenges is that the counties size their drying beds for their use. They didn't have really excess capacity. So it took a bit of negotiation for them to agree to allow us to wash out our vector trucks there. So that's in Crofton, which is about half an hour away from Annapolis. But we've got that sort of worked out, and they were able to provide additional capacity because they made some adjustments to their the types of pumps, grinder pumps that they're using, so that the amount of detritus that results from their clean out operation has been reduced. So we were able to sort of use the slack that created. So we have that arrangement in place. We it's basically on a pilot basis for us to sort of calibrate exactly the volume that we are bringing to their facility, and then we will enter into an MOU, a longer term MOU for using that facility. But the benefit of that is, long story short, is that it removed from Spa Road that particular material, which should not be near a water body. So that's a plus. The second issue with trash really deals with the what I would call good housekeeping practices. Now, in the MS4 permit, the municipal storm separate sewer permit, which the city has, all operational facilities are required to practice good housekeeping. And what that really means, more or less like our homes, is that really someone is responsible for cleaning up litter and other things that really shouldn't be conveyed into the water bodies, or that can be if they're not cleaned up. So by working with the supervisors over at Spa Road, we've made improvements in terms of the overall housekeeping. So that addresses, and so that every day they're supposed to have a crew assigned to sort of pick up litter and sort of containerize it properly. And that would address that. The one remaining item that we are not really able to address adequately until we have the new facility, excuse me, is road salt. The current storage facility that we have at Spa Road is not sized to allow the loading trucks to enter into the facility to offload. So they tend to offload, so they have to offload in front of the facility, and that salt is pushed into the dome. So there's always some residual salt that seems to remain, even if with general housekeeping. And if housekeeping is a little lax, salt will remain. And that is so we would improve our overall housekeeping to sort of make sure that after a loading operation that our sweepers go through and we do the best to pick up what salt remains. But that will disappear once we are at the new facility, because the new dome will allow the trucks to offload directly within the building. So that eliminates totally the possibility of salt being remaining in front of the building, so that can't be conveyed to any water body. So I think that those, I'm generally satisfied with the improvements that have been made at Spa Road. And I think that we're doing, the best that we can, given the structural issue that we have with that particular style of dome, which was quite common many years ago. It's an older dome, but the new ones allow vehicles to offload directly inside of the building.
All right, great. Thank you, Mike. That's great information. And we're going to talk more about the environmental site design for the new public works facility later in the agenda. Director Nash, do you can you share with us any particular plans that the city may be considering for that site in the future?
We don't have any plans that I know of right now, but David or the mayor might be able to speak to that better.
I could just, we have an opportunity site there that the community can decide, what will be the best use. My position always was that public works didn't belong on Spa Road, and we had one opportunity to move it, and we found a much better location for it. So I'm happy with that. We know that there was no addressing the salt dome or the storage areas in the last plan. So it was one of those plans that we do so often in this town where we do just enough to get by. You have one opportunity to do these things in 50 years or 100 years, you should do it right. And so I believe we are doing it right by moving it out to Spa Road. I mean, in the old days, they were putting trash dumps and salt domes at the headwaters. And obviously those practices have changed as we've evolved. I can tell you that, there is Maryland Hall is talking about an arts campus. There is a lot of talk about some affordable housing component, some space for nonprofits. There is talk about just keeping it as a park. I definitely want to upgrade the athletics facilities. We have an overplayed dust bowl of a field under this floodlights that is used a lot by the Hispanic community in the city. We need to upgrade that facility. The lower field has flooding issues, and there are environmental issues on the Weems-Whalen field that we'll all be able to address when we actually get to that point of coming up with a plan together. But currently there are no plans, no designs, anything like that. Thank you.
One thing that I had proposed in the Environmental Commission meeting was, like you said, providing some data collection motives for collecting data from community members and stakeholders as to what they believe to be some good ideas for that development. And what I proposed was some green energy sustainable design that would, like you said, last many years to come and could be very aggressive in a sense, similar to Arlington, Virginia, and how they have progressed to be the Copenhagen of America. I'm a Copenhagen of, the United States in the terms of its sustainable, aggressive nature. And so I agree that this is an opportunity to put some things in place like green job training for sustainable careers, like solar panel installation, even stormwater or floodplain management training aspects of the facility that would be open to the public in a sense. And just so I'll give you an example, in Baltimore City, they have a facility called the Public Works or Civic Works. It has a whole building dedicated to this exactly. It's called the Baltimore Green Sustainable Green Career Center. And that's what it's initially developed for, a partnership with OSHA and things like that.
I love all those ideas, Randy. That's awesome.
Thank you, Randy. Amy has a question.
I just wanted to tell Mike Johnson that I really appreciate all that information about the Public Works yard, because you know, we've been doing water testing right at the Chesapeake Children's Museum Bridge for 5 years now, and the bacteria numbers have been way off the charts there for a long time. And so, you know, we'll be able to see this year if moving the trucks, if that is, you know, if that was like the cause of those numbers, it'll be a good cause and effect thing. So I really appreciate that. I'm glad to know that the trucks are now going to a different facility. And about the trash, also that'll be a great thing, because we've done lots of trash cleanups there, and lots of the trash has unfortunately come from the Public Works yard.
Right.
I understand if you're collecting the trash and it's sitting around, it's gonna move around, but that's good to know too. And as far as the salt dome, you know, all these things kind of add up in water quality for the headwaters up there, and that rain garden, whatever you want to call it, that's below the salt dome, that was put in many years ago by Harry, oh God, I forget Harry's last name. He used to be with the city. And then it was redone by an Eagle Scout about 10 years ago. And that, you know, that thing has always had huge salt inundation. And so we figured it was coming from the salt dome, but didn't know exactly how to measure it. But hopefully we'll be able to see, you know, if there's a little better practices before you move the Public Works yard. If it's, you know, we haven't used any salt this year yet. Well, maybe you have, but not too much. But so it'll be interesting to see this year in 2021 with our water quality numbers, if these things make a difference, and we'll certainly let you know. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Sure.
Okay, if there's no more questions on that topic, we will move on to updates on our restoration projects, and start again with you, Director Johnson, to update us on Brewer Hill.
Okay, so Brewer Hill has been a project, as everyone knows, but I'll just give a brief synopsis in case there are folks who don't know. It seems to have been a project that has been around for quite a while. Certainly before, somewhere around 2008, maybe earlier. The developer was required to perform certain stormwater improvements as part of his permit. And somewhere along the line between staffing changes and reorganizations within the city, and the possibility of unearthing human remains somewhere within the easement that was dedicated for the stormwater purpose. Some work was done, and it's really hard as I went through the record and spoke to staff who've been here longer than I have, it's really hard to understand exactly what was done. One of the confounding issues is that there appear to have been two as-built documents that we have that don't agree with each other. So that alone kind of raises some concerns as to really what was done and the completeness of the record pursuant to the work. So what I did really is just to try to simplify matters, is to sort of assume that really, trying to sort of go back and do a forensic analysis of what was done, I didn't think was really efficient from a time perspective, or even possible to recreate that. So what I did is that we met internally with our team, and we came up with what I think was a very kind of like a clear and simple strategy as to how to move forward with this project. So PW, landscaping staff, and with some assistance from our partners in Parks and Rec. Thanks, Archie.
You're welcome.
Did a lot of removal of the overgrowth along the fence line with the National Cemetery. So that was the first thing that was sort of the big confounding issue, that really you couldn't see what was really present. So we removed that, and having done that, we then re-engaged Alan Hyatt, who is the developer, and got him to agree that the way to move forward is to perform a ground penetrating radar survey of the easement area that is proposed for the stormwater piping. And the reason for doing that is that we want to see whether targets are on the ground that could be human remains. And if we do find targets, if the survey does reveal targets that are human remains, then we would have to work out an alternative method of conveying the stormwater in concert with our partners at the Brewer Hills Cemetery. But I don't want that to be the first choice that we follow. The cost of the ground penetrating radar is fairly nominal, and the results are quite good, and would be able to probably clearly identify whether or not there are unmarked graves or other anomalies below ground that could delay the project. So I spoke with Alan yesterday, and Roberta Lehner, in planning and zoning, our archaeological subject matter expert, obtained quotes from 2 firms, and she provided those to Alan. And he has decided to go with one of those firms. I don't know where their arrangement is, so I wouldn't really mention any specifics on it, right? Because he's doing that contracting. But he's decided to go with one of the firms, quite a good pedigree, very good technical capabilities, and very experienced in this type of work. So he will contract with them, and then once we have the survey, which I think the work is estimated to take about a week before they've completed their field analysis, and maybe another week or 2 before the final report is done. The analysis is done and the final report is presented. So I'm hopeful that within 3 weeks to a month, we should have a clear picture of what is present within the proposed easement. At that point, it then becomes a fairly straightforward process to complete construction documents. I think Alan's engineer is Bay Engineering, which is quite a good firm, very experienced, and it shouldn't take them long to really complete the construction documents, and then construction would follow during the normal construction season. So somewhere this year, I'll get better dates and be able to report on those once we have certain hard points nailed down. But just looking, globally, I think that sometime this year we should have brought this matter to a satisfactory resolution, one way or another, without the possibility of de-interring remains and everything that goes with that, the emotional and legal. The Attorney General has to be involved in it, and it's a mess, really, if that occurs, and it will delay the project. So this process is how I plan to move forward. And I feel comfortable that this would give us the best chance of sort of resolving this in the most amicable way between all the parties involved. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Archie, is that a real expensive proposition? X-ray below ground?
No, it's not. It's a few $1,000s to do that. It's a fairly nominal cost regarding, compared to the cost of reinterring remains and, project delays. I think it's really, de minimis cost in a sense.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Director Johnson, I have 2 questions. The first is sort of seems like a no-brainer, but you've been in, is the Brewer Hill Cemetery group up to speed on the plan to date, or have they gotten this information yet?
I spoke with Alan about that. He was reaching out to Reggie. The reason why he has not contracted yet is that he was waiting for concurrence from Reggie with the cemetery board on what was being proposed. And, you know, I mean, we've been involved. They certainly were involved when we were doing the clearing, when my staff is doing the clearing. And I have a little joke for everyone. It's sort of a joke. We uncovered a hand, and it was, we were like, oh my goodness, more remains. So we brought in the archaeologists, the police, you know, everyone was there. So the archaeologist goes down and retrieves the hand. Turns out to be a polycarbonate hand made in China. So, yeah, right. So it was a false alarm, but a good one, but a good false alarm. So really, they were involved, and they have been involved. I've worked closely with Reggie and with other board members, and sort of keeping them, you know, apprised of what we were doing, and I certainly would expect their concurrence on a review of the plans before we allow Alan to do any construction.
Great. My second question is there a concept plan for what the proposed remediation is, assuming that the area that you are looking at is free of human remains?
No, there is not. I think the original concept was to have the pipes run over the surface, and I didn't really like that. I really felt that you know, we could do a better job in terms of determining for instance, if there are no remains within the easement, then there is no reason to have the pipes run on the surface of the ground. They should be buried. So, but part of the thing that had thrown everything into abeyance was the fear that they would unearth remains. But the way to sort of solve that is to sort of take a peek on the ground and see what is there. Right, to have an expert sort of say, well, either we do or we don't, and then we would have a better concept of the way that we're going to move forward.
So there's a pipe, but then what about where the pipe discharges?
Where the pipe discharges, they still have to do reinforcing. I think that riprap was supposed to be placed as a very steep slope down into the gully, I would call it that. And the water looks like it's being discharged at a rather rapid rate due to the slope, and that's going to have an erosion issue. So there'd be some stabilization. That'd be part of the project that Bay Engineer has to design and submit for our review before they're permitted to build it. So that outfall would be addressed adequately, but that's not really the sticking point. That's not really the hard part of the project. The hard part is really the potential to conflict with remains.
Michael, are there any historical pictures that exist of Brewer Hill Cemetery?
Maybe a question better for Roberta. She might be able to answer that. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if Sally may know, if Director Nash may know anything about that.
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Oh, it looked like Alderman Savage was trying to say something, but he's muted.
Yeah, thank you, Director Johnson, for your initiative on this and your leadership on this. Sounds like it's progressing nicely. I did have a few questions, and I do agree with you in terms of, I think it would make more sense to put the put the pipe underground if possible. But I guess I have two questions on the outfall. First of all, do you know if they'll be looking at the potential of putting in some kind of plunge pool, and not just riprap, but an actual plunge pool at the end, just to kind of try to slow down the flow? And the second part of that would be, is there any plan to remove some of the trash that's down there at the edge of the site?
As to whether or not a plunge pool is needed, it would seem like that might possibly be a feature that would work well there. But we would address that once Bay Engineer goes through their complete design, so we have a sense of that the volume of water the rate at which the velocity, of water leaving the pipe, the outfall, is not going to cause further erosion outside of the work limits, the LOD for that project. When I was there, I didn't notice a lot of trash. I mean, our guys were in there doing a lot of cleaning, and they sort of opened it up. I didn't really see a lot of trash in the drainage swale, so to speak, the gully. But I think the cemetery board did a cleanup actually sometime in October, I think it was, around October the 11th or 12th, somewhere thereabouts, if my memory serves me correctly. And I think a lot of that may have been addressed, it's possible, but I didn't really notice a lot of trash, residual trash in the drainage gully.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Sounds good. Yeah, and regarding the trash, I didn't see it in the swale, but I saw it in the stream that this feeds into, that's in between the two properties there. And that may be just something, I guess, to also just make this larger group aware of. That might be a good area for a cleanup. But also, I think it looked like a lot of the trash was just in the dirt. So if that stream in the rear is ever assessed for possible stream restoration, that would certainly be, I think, a good thing to keep in mind.
Okay.
Could I ask a question too about this? I know the federal cemetery, of course, is right next door to Brewer Hill, and some of their runoff must feed into that storm drain, but a lot of it just is like a sheet flow, I would assume, off of their slope there going down into there. So has the city reached out to them to see if they're going to have any put any skin in the game in this restoration effort, because they're contributing to the erosion there on their side at least. And it seems to me that I don't know what they can do on their cemetery side, but at least to help with the restoration of that whole gully and swale, whatever you want to call it.
I have not reached out to them at this point. And I really, just in thinking about it, I sort of see them as a harder party to involve in the matter, right? In a sense, now there were some practices, I was told by our landscapers, that our landscaping crew, that their landscapers were throwing vegetative waste over the fence into the cemetery property.
I'm sure.
And I believe we spoke with them about that and asked them to cease and desist doing that. I mean, just informally, right? It's not the city cemetery, but we did sort of ask them to stop that practice, have their contractors stop that practice. But I'm not really very confident how, that we have a strong case to really involve them in the restoration effort, even though it's something that we would look at if it turns out during the analysis that they are a major contributor. I suspect they are not the major contributor to the flow, but that's something that we would determine once Bay has recommenced their design work and provided us with appropriate calculations.
Yeah, Amy, this is David. How are you?
Good.
So in the past, we reached out to the National Cemetery, so they have been sort of put on notice. I think their part would be the downstream restoration that Rob spoke of.
Right.
The focus right now is on the upstream area that Alan Hyatt is on the hook for to get that completed. That's really the priority work right now. But we want to address the downstream area as well. So that's when we'll try to pull the National Cemetery. And I think Mike is correct that they're going to be difficult to get much money out of, but I think we need to at least try because they're contributing.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Mike, you're still on the hot seat because
Okay.
We've been briefed this group before. In fact, Greenvest did a whole presentation about a year and a half ago on their feasibility studies and what they were proposing. But if you could just briefly update the group on where we are with the city's restoration work.
And is this Hawkins Cove?
Well, we can discuss Hawkins Cove as well. I know the mayor's particular vision for that area and in general, including in community access and to the water and restoration projects that are ongoing. So you can cover that as well.
Okay, I'll do that. Now, we took a look at Hawkins Cove, and one of the problems that seem to be present is that where the floating dock was proposed is in conflict with a 48-inch stormwater outfall pipe. It's would be directly above the outfall pipe, and we have some real concerns about putting a structure above a major piece of infrastructure like that. That when it's that's a lot of water that's coming out, and not only is the force of the water significant, but any potential damage to that outfall could have serious problems upstream. You know, in the reach of the pipe, it would affect the safe conveyance requirements that MD has for stormwater outfall pipes. So looking at it, I mean, given the restrictions and I'm not really seeing how we would be able to put a floating dock at that location. Just in looking at it, it seems technically challenging, to put it that way, to try to work that out. Given the easements that you have and the property lines that are next to it, and the existence of this outfall pipe, that's a major outfall for that region. If I were recommending it, I would not really recommend that we do that. It seems like we'd be creating a potential problem that could be quite serious for that area there.
Okay, and if there's any questions about Hawkins Cove, that is an area where the city is contemplating doing improvements there. The Spa Creek Conservancy has put in a lot of work developing ideas for a living shoreline and other ways to protect the shoreline there. The city is exploring, you know, how it can get involved and also include the input from the surrounding community about uses they would like to make of that area, whether they would like to launch canoes there or go fishing there or have something on the land side of it, some recreational use. So we're exploring all of that and hoping to partner with Spa Creek Conservancy in the future going forward on that one. Amy, you had a comment I saw.
I just wanted to know, Director Johnson, where was the floating dock by the outfall there? I didn't understand that. Was that in a community ask? You're not talking about the plan that Spa Creek put forth, right? Are you talking about something else? Was that just an idea?
I'm not sure I've seen the Spa Creek plan, but I mean, I just looked at the stormwater lines that we have. You know, we have a map of that, and then the proposed location where the dock could be placed, and there's a conflict between the two. You know, they're almost like, you know, there's a vertical difference because the outfall is lower, but it's directly over the outfall pipe. So that seemed to be, you know, problematic given the size of the outfall for any outfall, but certainly one that's 4 feet in width.
Well, I think any restoration project there, you would have to address the outfall pipe. So in the design that we submitted, we disconnected the outfall pipe higher up and had step pools so that the outfall pipe would not be there any longer.
Okay, I have not seen that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've not seen what you're referring to, so I'm sort of at a bit of a disadvantage. And that was that submitted to who was that submitted to, that design?
Oh, it's all right. It was Chesapeake Bay Trust, but yeah, it's not going forward now. So, but I just didn't know if that's what you were referring to. It's okay.
Okay.
We're talking about two different things. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I guess the other stuff, we've started working with, with Green Vest on developing a concept for, Back Creek improvements. And, that project is just going through the feasibility phase. And, you know, I don't really have anything major to report on that at this point. I see Betsy's on. Betsy, do you have anything that you want to say about that?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Betsy McKeown. We have started the design for the Back Creek area upstream of Bay Ridge to be looking at a better stormwater solution in the Timber Creek and Ambridge Pond areas. We kicked that off later last year. I believe we should have finished the survey work, so we're fully engaged with Greenvest on the design and permitting of that project. We anticipate being finished hopefully by late fall with permits in hand. Any questions on that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Betsy. Mr. Mayor, did you want to make any more comments about Hawkins Cove or any other projects we're thinking about in the city?
I think specifically to Hawkins Cove, I think we all want the same thing. Ultimately, a living shoreline, water access, and a public space, a usable public space there. So obviously when we rebuild Harbour House and Eastport Terrace, we have a great opportunity then to get it right. I'm learning a lot of stuff on this call also from Director Johnson as well. I wasn't aware of the volume of the outfall there, but we've seen how devastating those designs can be for our creeks and that. So we have to address that. What I'm trying to do is get a short-term plan there. So if a floating dock doesn't work or we have to come up with some redesign for it, let's make that happen. But when I have been very interested in connecting Boucher and that side of Eastport through to the boat ramp, we had the Moore group put in a little at-grade crossing there, so you could sort of make that connection over to the boat ramp and then over to the Pitmoyer Rec Center and the fields and the new pool. That flow is something that I'm sort of trying to get for pedestrians and bikes as well. There's nothing that we're going to do on Spar Creek that we won't do without the partnership of the Spar Creek Conservancy. You've done all this amazing work so far. I just didn't want to miss this opportunity of including the community that lives right there on this project. And so we're still going to push forward on it and work with the group to come out with a great outcome. But I think we should be mindful that of the economics of it. Really, when we reimagine Harbour House and when we can do something really outstanding there, but that'll bring the kind of funding that we need to do a big project for that stormwater outlet. So I'm looking forward to getting it done, and looking forward to working with you guys on that. Thank you.
Just to add to that, when I'm pretty new to the idea of this project. I didn't know much about it till now, but just in whoever's in the development aspects of that, to try to work with these individuals to develop not only just access, but also opportunities to partner with other sailing academies and sailing programming that target communities of color, particularly a gentleman named Marcus Asante, who I've been in talks with lately in the process of building an environmental education curriculum that targets public housing communities. And then like the Freedom Regatta also has a program in the Cybele, but also looking at it from a entrepreneurship standpoint, creating training programs for these individuals where they can embark into a career off of the water, which is very plentiful in this area and is very slacking in departments like boat technicians. So looking to train individuals in careers around boat technicians, shrink wrapping, and other aspects of careers off of the waterway. And there are organizations who you could thoroughly partner with that would come in and provide these types of partnerships. Just something you want to throw in there in regards to that development down there.
Thank you, Randy. We did want to have some time to talk about any projects you should bring to our attention that you're thinking about, that you are in the process of applying for grants. We always, part of our process, we would like to know before you get started so that we can tell you whether the city's already doing a project or thinking about doing a project. We might partner with you. So anyone with projects they want to bring to our attention. Tom Gay, Seven River Association.
Thanks, Jackie. How y'all doing? Happy New Year. I wish us all a joyous January 20th as well. I just wanted to point out, I'm new to your group here, but the Seven River Association has some water quality projects that may be of use to you all going forward. We are now monitoring waters inside Back Creek, and Jim Burdick, we do a Weems Creek report card as well now, Back Creek, and we're also covering Lake Ogleton. So we have that data out there. If anybody might find that useful, we at least have a baseline now of what the creeks look like before this next round of activity comes along. So just want to make sure you all were aware of that. Thanks.
Did you say you're monitoring Weems Creek as well? Yes. Okay, great.
Paul, I have. Could you mention our boat ride?
He was asking about your boat ride, Tom, for the education.
Tom,
I'm sorry. Yeah, last year we also introduced a program called the Floating Classroom, and this is an opportunity to get a hands-on experience for students of all ages, from 4th grade to retired people. And we take them out, we teach them how to do water quality monitoring. We do this over an oyster reef, and we basically make the connection between water quality, oyster health, dead zones, algae blooms, things like that. And we're now trying to offer this program to the Annapolis City Parks and Recreation. So Director Archie and I are creating a program to try to bring that this summer. So we'll have more details on that later as soon as Archie and I shake hands again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that sounds excellent. I really love the sound of that. What sort of a vessel do you use as the floating classroom?
Yeah, we're using a 20-foot maritime skiff, right. Which is a perfect platform for doing this. By the way, we also take them out to see underwater grass areas. So they're getting 2 pictures of the river. We can take 4 students at a time right now, plus a teacher or guardian. We've limited it to that because of COVID restrictions. But we started this last year. We had, it was a lot of fun. Archie went out with us. He enjoyed the ride, and we've been planning like crazy to try to get this thing rolling in 2021. But we leave out of Back Creek right now, or I go pick up kids, from their communities on the river. And one of the things I was great to hear Randy talking about there. Randy, what is XMNR?
XMNR stands for Executive Masters of Natural Resources and Global Sustainability, which is what my master's degree in.
Well,
but also, back to what you were saying, but we need to talk. Yeah.
Well, it's thanks to Archie that I have a connection with you now, because Archie wants me to expand our presentation to exactly do what you were talking about, is raise awareness of water-based careers, whether it's in sciences or being on a boat or fixing and repairing. Is a great idea. So I'd love to chat with you about that offline sometime.
We will definitely be in touch.
And Tom, you have some oyster beds out there as well, right?
Yeah, we have 5 oyster beds in the Severn River. For you locals, it's between the 2 bridges, Route 50 and the Navy Academy Bridge. We planted 17 million oysters this past summer on a brand new reef right outside Jim Burdick's Creek. Jim, are you listening? Little area called Wade. And we did that with the Oyster Recovery Project. So that's a joint project there. So what we do is we take the kids, the students, sorry, to what we call the Marylanders Grow Oysters Reef. This is the reef we've been planting every year for the last 10 years as part of the Marylanders Oyster Program. We go there every June, and that's a long program. But anyway, we go there because that's where we have the biggest pile of oysters that have been growing over the years. And we're in the process now of developing an oyster dive program. So we might have even more exciting ideas to show the students when they come by. And we're even trying to dream up a way to get an underwater picture down there. It's dark as can be, but we're going to try this summer.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm also working with a few locals in developing is a environmental education superhero character. Yeah, and so with the work you're doing, that may be something that, you know, you could add this sponsor, so to say, to your, you know, kind of a mascot to your program. And this person would be this character would be somewhat relevant to the target underengaged audiences in environmental, you know, outdoor access. So there's something to think about. Working with a gentleman named Commissel, who is on the front page of the Bay Weekly, or he's in the Bay Weekly, this month's Bay Weekly.
Randy, you got a pencil?
Yeah.
443-716-6776. Give me a call.
All right, we'll do.
Thomas,
Hey,
the dream would be you could come to Hawkins Cove and pick kids up and take them out onto the water and do all those wonderful things.
I'm trying to work out the logistics of that right now, Mayor Buckley. I was thinking of picking them up at Truxton Park because that's already established. But
Yep.
we would come by boat and then take the kids out on the tours.
Sure.
Hey, Tom, further to that, we have had some experience taking students out when we go to collect the cages on Weems Creek. And we've used students to help us collect the cages, take them on our boats, and carry them out to the reef and actually drop them off. That's a little bit more physical. It might not be for young kids, but it really gets them in touch, literally, with the process of reseeding oysters.
Well, we could use your help, and we could create a bigger program to do that. I'd have to talk to our oyster chairman to work that out, but we could help you out on that.
Yeah,
They would love more help dragging those things around.
And if Randy's got sources of folks that can go, that's really the key. Putting the two
Absolutely.
parties
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, we had the School on Water, which is a summer campus, an environmental and outdoor education
Perfect.
summer camp ran out of Stanton Center. But even more, the Work to Live Well campaign, it's a program that dealt with aquaponics. I was a part of the development team that started that with DNR a few years back. And it's an aquaponics career apprenticeship program where they teach careers around oyster beds, all of the careers around aquaponics, which again is another very booming industry that a lot of individuals in this area could benefit from, but don't probably know anything about it. So.
Yeah, so we could give you those kind of characters who want to do that. We could give them a basic introduction during the floating classroom, because that's more just oysters in general.
Because what we found is that there's no way we're going to reach our goals in regards to our sustainable design for our waterways, for our clean water goals, unless we enact the entire brand new workforce that is going to embark on these endeavors. And so I think as administrators, as decision makers, it is up to us to kind of open that door, because the more oyster restoration beds we have, the cleaner our water is going to be, the more, et cetera, the more trees we plant, et cetera, et cetera. So it's up to us to kind of build that infrastructure out.
Hey guys, I don't know if you're aware of this. You probably are, but just in case you're not, Eastport Yacht Club has a maritime career fair every year that I've gone to once or twice. I just pulled up my email from it. They emailed about it on December 23rd. Doesn't look like a date has been scheduled, but it seems right up the alley of what you're talking about. So you might want to reach out to EYC and see if you can register for that event.
Yeah, it's Virginia Tippie, who's the chair of their environmental committee. She's the contact. And I can send that to you, Tom and Randy. All right, well, I'm really glad that you guys have all connected. And this project is moving forward. And we started talking about this, I guess, sometime last summer. Anybody else have any other projects they want to make the city aware of?
Well, a potential project with the Spa Creek stream behind the Pitt Moyer Center, starting at the tennis court. It has been observed and I guess studied on behalf of a feasibility study by a certain company, but I can't speak any further than that because I don't know anything else. But I'm looking forward to that coming to some type of fruition.
Yeah. So that was part of the Greenvest feasibility study, that part of the stream there, and it was found to be degraded. It was not included as part of our priority projects, but Racine is going to set up a site visit with Public Works so we can look at it and see whether we can move it up in our projects that we're working on right now.
Jackie, this is Elvia. I'd just like to say that we're planning on a program to raise public awareness, provide education about cigarette butt litter, which of course ends up in our waterways. So that'll be coming in the spring. Not quite sure what format it's going to take, but it's going to build off of something that we called But It's Plastic, with 2 T's on the butt. Last month, or you lose track of time in this mess. A while back, we did a pickup and picked up literally thousands of cigarette butts, saving them from getting into our waterways. So we'll be continuing that in 2021.
Yeah, that's great. So the city is partnering with Annapolis Green, and DNR is funding this project. And we're about to get that moving through so that Elvia can start planning for us. Bring cigarette butt, or keep your butts out of the bay, as we like to call it sometimes, project. The studies have found, DNR did a big study on all the beaches of Maryland, and they found that the most prevalent form of trash, marine trash on beaches, is cigarette butts.
Wow.
And unfortunately, since the pandemic, there's more single-use plastic trash than ever. And it's because of 2 reasons. One is people are just lazy and disrespectful of the environment. And secondly, that the plastics industry uses the pandemic as an excuse to create even more of this stuff, because they encourage thinking of hygiene as being, that plastic is good for hygiene. So, this is the kind of stuff that we're trying to fight. Stop using all this single-use plastic. Everybody's got a dishwasher. You can use real dishes and real cutlery instead of plastic stuff. And
yeah, you're right.
Even the CDC during Thanksgiving was telling people in the United States to use plastic cutlery for Thanksgiving. I was beside myself. Everybody can wash dishes, and soap and water kills the lipid capsule that the virus is encased in. So there's no reason for yet more plastic. And there's going to be a state level legislation brought up again about single-use plastics, plastic bags, balloons, the whole 9 yards, everything that was kind of lost when the session was cut short last year.
Thank you, Elvia. I wanted to move on because I know that
I just had a couple projects to be aware of. My consultant firm, R & Associates, we just recently got a grant from CBT to do outreach for the Chesapeake Conservation Corps program. So we'll be taking in 5 diversity fellowship applicants. So if anybody knows anybody ages 18 to 24 that could benefit from a $25,000 stipend for 1 year of work at a local environmental agency here in the city of Annapolis, please let me know, get their name and info to me as soon as possible so I can assist them in the application. And then another project, most recently I've been partnering with Suzanne, and we recently had the first ever minority owned vendor to get awarded for Replant Anne Arundel, which is a tree planting program through the county. And I've been recently talking about working with the city to, again, achieve our tree planting, tree canopy goals by creating a partnership where a program that would incentivize minority-owned vendors to do tree plantings throughout the city of Annapolis in designated areas that are open for, green space, open green spaces.
Could I say one thing for that, Randy? I know that up in the headwaters and in possibly in Hawkins Cove, there might be an opportunity for a minority tree planting group to put up wire protection for trees. There's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of beaver activity, which we're always very happy about beavers in the creek because they're great for controlling our runoff, but they have been taking down a lot of trees up in the headwaters. And when we planted all the trees in the restoration, they were put up with cages, protection, beaver protection. Some of that, lots of that is still there. Some of the older trees, the beavers are taking down. So, I mean, there is an opportunity. I mean, I guess someone would have to pay for that. I'm not sure. We were thinking of doing a volunteer activity to do that. But if there's a way to get some money, some funding, or we could talk about it, maybe that we could pay some minority contractor to do that.
Yeah, I'm working with CBT to do these community mini grants. I'll be putting in 5 for 5 different organizations. So maybe they're for $5K or less or something like that. But one of the things they pay for, they fund is community cleanup. So maybe that could be tied into that type of work, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, I do want to give Racine some time to talk to you about what the city is doing to revise our workflow and requirements for stormwater projects. I mean, we've had complaints over the years that there's some snaffles, in the process, and there's been some things suggested by some of you and other environmental groups and contractors. So Racine, go ahead, take it away.
Hello, good morning, everyone. The city has a workflow for stream restoration projects, retrofit projects, living shorelines, wetland restorations, and even stormwater projects. And the workflow itself has 6 phases to it, which begins with, these are all projects outside the city. It begins with the group that is going to be proposing the project, contacting the city prior to any applications for grant monies. And it goes through preliminary plans, 30% designs, public outreach, 60% designs, and into the issuance of permits. Now, this workflow is on our website right now, but what I'm doing this week before the end of this week is arranging a meeting with city staff that would be involved in this workflow to make sure it's streamlined and understandable for those that are outside the city. With this workflow, also, we have a living document that outlines all restoration projects, again, whether they're stormwater projects or retrofits or whatnot. And I am the keeper of this spreadsheet, and it includes the the body that applies for funds. It includes contact emails. It includes how much grant funding is involved, and it shows at what stage each project is, so that we are tracking these projects as they go along. So I don't make any decisions on these projects, but if anyone has any questions about what status or phase the project is in, I am keeping track of that in this spreadsheet as well. I'm thinking, and I'll have to get some input on this, that when we do meet within the city to talk about the stream, the workflow for restoration projects, that perhaps I should hold also a meeting where our nonprofit organizations and city organizations give some input as well on this document. And this is just so that we are all on the same page with these projects. If there are questions of the status of what's going on, then you can check with me and I can pass that information along. Sorry. Oh, okay. Let's see. The spreadsheet, again, it includes actual projects that are taking place, as well as Green Vest projects and any proposed projects. So do you have any questions about this?
Yes. What is the goal of, how you doing today, Racine?
How you doing?
Yeah. What is the goal of the flow chart? What is the goal just in general?
In general, it is so that no one is left out hanging without information. It is so that if you have a project, let's connect with the city right away and let's follow these steps so that we're always on the same page and the city is getting what it needs. And therefore, any kind of delays that might be, that might come up might be avoided. And so that any nonprofit or city organization that is working with the city also is doing what they need to do and has, if any questions, if there are any questions, they have some place to come to get answers.
Randy, we also noticed that as some of these projects go along and it's specific to the type of project, that sometimes there are criteria to meet, requirements to meet from state agencies or commission and board approvals that need to be sought depending on the project that sometimes a nonprofit is not aware of. So we want to include those kinds of trigger points in the workflow and update it with that. For example, some projects will require Historic Preservation Commission input, and which is a big deal, and it's a long process. And not sometimes the groups that are bringing the projects to the city don't realize what's involved with that or what the obstacles are, and they need to know about that up front. Others trigger maritime board review. So different
or MDE review or Army Corps of Engineers. And we want to make sure that all the boxes are ticked off and nothing is delayed because someone did not know what to do next.
Thank you. Thank you. I kind of figured that.
Are there questions for Racine on the project? Okay. So Racine may be reaching out to you in the future to get your input once the city staff provides all their input and we get a good working draft. And
yeah, I have a list going right now where I will reach out to Amy, Randy, Suzanne, Jesse. Is there anyone else in this meeting that you'd like to be included in this reach out to try to get some feedback on our workflow?
I'd like to be on that list, Racine.
Okay, Archie.
Thank you.
I'm sure that Betsy Love from Severn River Keeper would want to be in on that.
Okay, I've got Betsy Love, and Betsy, I see that you're with us. I have your new email address.
Oh, thank you. And Racine, I know I owe you information on SPCA for the 60% design. Got a few hitches that I'm working on right now, and hopefully I will be able to get back to you sometime by the end of next week. We have met with Army Corps and MDE, and we have a way forward with them, and hopefully that will be accepted with you as well.
Okay, I look forward to hearing from you, Betsy.
lots of challenges there.
I also want to mention, it's on our agenda too, that there are funds available through the Chesapeake Bay Trust that the city is participating in for the first time this year. We're in partnership with the Anne Arundel County Restoration Program and the trust on this. We have $400,000 from our water restoration fund that we've put into this trust grant program. If you are interested in applying for projects in the city, you must do a site visit with the city staff and the trust staff by February 12th. And the applications are due to the trust by March the 4th. And the trust has all the information on their website.
Jackie, is there a press release from either the city or the trust that we can share?
I believe there was one from the trust. Let me go back and try to find it. Yeah. When they I think they did it back in October, because the RFPs went out October 14th of 2020. I think they did a press release then. I can look for it.
Oh, hi, this is Adatola. Racine, can you add me to that workflow?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And I did have a question as far as the conversation about like green careers. Has there been anyone reach out to any of the local historic Black university HBCUs? I know Bowie State has a tree planting program, and I had inquired with them about doing some work with the city.
When I was what's up, Tola? What's going on, Cuz?
How you doing?
When I was working with DNR, I was a part of the first ever HBCU internship program at the State Department of Natural Resources. That was 2017, 2018 time frame. That program still exists, from what I understand, and that's a great idea because a lot of these grants that you can go for would pay for things like interns. One of the biggest problems that HBCUs have with internships in Annapolis is transportation, and the fact that HBCUs, none are in Annapolis. And if you're talking about someone who's going to a HBCU that most likely not rich and can afford, things like traveling back and forth 30 miles away. And so transportation ends up being the biggest component, or even housing, for some internships. So, but yeah, I think the city could definitely benefit from a HBCU internship, environmental STEM, environmental education, even public health and environmental policy internships. These programs are very, very popular at our HBCUs in our state, having graduated myself from UMES.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely we need to talk about that. I think be a great opportunity to see if we can get some create a pipeline for young people through working with people in the university in our city, connecting them and then with the city and different nonprofits and different organizations.
All right, moving on. I wanted to give Director Johnson an opportunity to update everybody on the site design for the new public works facility on Hudson Street. He's talked a little bit already about the salt dome, but I know this group is interested in the environmental site design for both the building and the property.
Okay, with us today is Betsy, who is our project manager for this, but I could sort of just give a brief overview, then I probably would turn it over to her. She can speak in more detail. I mean, the site is using bioswales, micro-bioretentions, step pool conveyance as part of the ESDs that are present on the site. And, we, as to the maximum extent practicable, to use the way of the legal way to describe it, we've integrated ESD into the design. Betsy, would you like to sort of maybe speak more on that, maybe to the forest conservation issues as well, reforestation, things like that?
Sure. let me give a quick overview of where we are in the schedule first. We submitted site design and special exception packages, and we're close to receiving all of the agency comments, but we're looking really good in terms of being able to move forward with the Board of Appeals meeting and the Planning Commission meeting, hopefully in February. We're anticipating submitting building permit sets shortly after that, once we get approvals from those commissions. And so we're anticipating building permit sets sometime in early March, which then would take us to starting construction, hopefully by fall. We're anticipating construction taking approximately 1 year. So then we're anticipating completion of construction in fall of 2022.
Goodness.
Sorry, someone said something. Okay, so we looked at multiple site layouts to minimize the disturbance. The site is considered new development, so we are treating 125% of the stormwater flows on site. As Mike had mentioned, it includes a step pool storm conveyance system to convert the concentrated storm drain flow to a shallow groundwater flow through its pools and subsurface seepage layer. We identified 3 hot spots on the site, one of which was within building 1, where vehicle maintenance and repair will occur. For that location, we're going to be directing stormwater into an oil and grit separator. Another potential hotspot is just outside of building 1, where we might be washing cars and trucks. And that stormwater will be directed to a storm scepter before it then enters into the rest of the stormwater drainage infrastructure. The other potential hotspot location is the salt barn, and this area is going to require extensive housekeeping. Mike Johnson had talked about the housekeeping required at our current location, and we will continue to have to always sweep those the salts. But what we're going to do is we're going to put in a holding tank, and then so if any stormwater with a salt in it will then be directed to a holding tank, and then hopefully we can reuse that salt brine. In front of the material bins, we'll have a catch basin insert that the stormwater will go through before it enters into the rest of the stormwater infrastructure. In addition, we're going to, so the environmental site design, like I said, we looked at these hotspot areas, how to minimize disturbance, and we designed it in a way to minimize any potential contamination going into our stormwater facilities. We are putting in a green roof on top of building 1, 4 microbioretention areas, and then a filtera system. And then also right now we have erosion and sediment controls currently in place on site to maximize or to minimize any sediment leaving the site currently. And we have someone going out there once a month to maintain the sediment controls. And then we also have our stormwater inspector also looking at that on a regular basis to make sure everything stays in place. So that's what I prepared, Mike. Did you want me to talk about anything else at this time?
No, I think that one of the issues that had been raised, I guess, was the use of pavers. And maybe you might want to speak as to why that was felt not to be appropriate for the site.
We've been told that the infiltration at this location isn't ideal for the pavers. That's what I recall from our engineer. Is that the same thing you recall, Mike?
Right.
Yeah. So it's just not the best location for pavers.
Yeah, I think they told us that the percolation rate was 1 inch per hour, which is way too low for that particular BMP to be used. And then in addition, our yard is an active PW yard with very heavy loads. You don't really feel that from maintenance perspective, that would be an appropriate BMP to use at a facility like ours. That would be, be an an ongoing cost, even if we did have the perk rate for it to work, that really the city should not incur. That's not an appropriate BMP for that type of facility.
And we are pursuing LEED Silver. So we have to do that as per city code. And we have a lead consultant on board as part of the team. So we're looking at all the different options to meet that requirement.
Great. Any questions? Amy's applauding you, Betsy. Good job. Thank you so much. It's great information. And we are running a bit behind. Archie, you're up next to talk about restoration projects in the parks, including stabilization of trails and slopes, and any potential uses you're contemplating for Waterworks Park. Oops, you're on mute, Archie. Archie, you're on mute. I don't know where he went either now. Archie, on mute.
Am I on mute now?
No, you're unmuted.
Okay, great. My battery is low. We are going to partner with the organization that did the bike trails in Waterworks Park. They are going to restore the old park, the old trails at Waterworks Park. I do want to jump to the introduction of Mr. Rao real quick. It's a beautiful thing that when you see a child grow up to be a responsible man, an educated man who does a great job of disseminating that information to the grassroots people. So many fall by the wayside, and Randy Rao is one of those dynamic young people that was doing a great job. I played ball with his father, and I have a lot of scars to show with playing with him. I want to give you a proposal to have him work with the Annapolis Recreation and Parks Department as a consultant for the development, the implementation, and the sustainability of an environmental division of recreation and parks. Also, I want to say that the Waterworks Parks, and I hope everybody shares my vision. I think that there should be an environmental educational center there. I think it's enough room for an environmental educational center. I think we need to get together. We have all this environmental expertise on board right now. And I think that we should get together now to see what that looks like. But I will, consult you, David, and you, Mayor, before we take any steps at all. And I think I would like to sit down and talk about that. Waterworks Parks is an oasis, and I think we should take advantage of it. Not unlike Jug Bay, Anne Arundel side, Prince George's side, or the Smithsonian Research Center. I think we should move forward and try to see, how feasible that is. The environmental division would really, if we would have an on-campus version of that environmental division, it would be primarily programmatic, but we would also have partnerships with these various environmental agencies and organizations that is doing good work out in the community and on the bay. So that's all I really have.
And I just want to weigh in there. We have an amazing opportunity site there, 600 acres. We have the largest solar park on a brownfield in America. That's what I was told a year ago when we cut the ribbon for that. We need to sell that. People need to know that that's an asset that the city has, and that's part of you know, the thinking of this city. So I'm so happy that we got the Moore Group to create a network of trails in that park. And I go there every weekend on a bike, but there are more there are more people walking in there than there are bike riders. So there are runners and riders and dog walkers and a lot of people enjoying the facility that really didn't have access to it before. So we have great potential on the with the building that exists there. We're going to try to, in the short term, move in the maker's space people to start to teach some different skills in that building and give that building a little bit of love. It's been sitting there just as a storage area for a long time. So in the short term, we'll get users that will help improve the building. And then we have the water tanks that are disused on the hillside there. We have potential to use those as foundations for some cool buildings that could house some environmental kind of entity. So you know, and then on the honeysuckle side of it, if you've walked all the way down to honeysuckle, I love the Bob Agee idea of carving off a piece of that land, selling it to a zero emission a housing developer. This is a Bob Agee idea where we could create 10 houses, zero emission houses that would make another statement about who we are as a city. There is also the potential to carve off a little piece of that land on the Housley Road side to do a tiny house project, which I think would be cool. It's a transportation route. Buses go down Housley Road. There's a shopping center, a grocery store across the road. That could be a potential really cool little thing we partner with the county on and do there as a kind of a model. So there's so much awesome possibilities for Waterworks Park. I'm happy that we've opened it up so people can see what we have. We will be posting some signage there so people actually know how to get into it from Housley Road. And then when we add some pervious parking spaces around the site, we will start to open that a little more up to the public so that other people can get in. I think we have to make sure there's an area, Archie, where it's only for people walking and only for people fishing. I think we could put some, when we get down the road, we could add some more fish. I remember that Bass Pro, I'm told, did a couple of fishing tournaments there where they added fish to the catch and release program that we have. So anyway, lots of good stuff that I want to talk about. I'm gonna be on my phone now because I have to commute to the next spot. Thank you. I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to pick up where Mr. Mayor left off, I envision the Environmental Education Center in many ways. For example, I would like to see canoeing and kayaking there under the control of an educational center, so people wouldn't be able to come and randomly just rent boats. This would be under the guise of a educational center. And the focus on that, the main target population for an educational center at the Waterworks Park are students. And I think that that would be our main population for that particular thing. So I just wanted to add that. And I think we need to really start, but it all starts with the building though, to be honest with you. So we have to see where that building is going, how much it will cost, and because without the building, we can't have an educational center. Well, that's all I have.
Director Trader, I'm just wondering if you've had any, if there's any vision for involving Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and if you've had any discussion with the Office of Environmental Literacy through Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
We've had an art class there already. Before, during COVID, I got a call from an art teacher, and he said, "Well, can we go to Waterworks Park and have a class?" I said, "You can go fishing too if you want." But anyway, yes. And see, once we start to market, we're coming up with a new marketing strategy plan. And you bring up a good point, because in marketing and strategically, you have to reach out to certain organizations like Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
The reason why I'm saying that is that there's a number of programs that the Office of Environmental Literacy runs that have moved around in the last couple of years. So there's the residential program for fourth graders at Arlington Echo. There was the kindergarten program at Camp Woodlands, and they've moved from Camp Woodlands. And I don't recall the exact spot they're going to be going back to when we go back to in person. But maybe there's also the property, the new property down next to Quiet Waters. There's the 6th grade program that operates out of a couple different county parks, but it might be an interesting opportunity to check in with the Office of Environmental Literacy just to see if there might be a collaboration there, because I think that Waterworks Park is a really amazing resource to get kids outside, and we need to take advantage of all of those. So I really am excited about that, and I'd love to be kept in the loop about your future plans, because I think it's a really needed thing for the city.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for that wonderful idea with the environmental literacy. I will be in contact with them.
Great.
Thank you, Archie. I wanted to let some time be allowed here for David and the mayor, if he's still available, to update you all on what's going on with City Dock.
Dave, you want to go ahead with that?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. So we recently signed a pre-development agreement with a consortium of developers, engineers, construction, parking folks to do the Hillman Garage replacement, as well as the City Dock resilience and revitalization projects. So they're starting work. It's a team that's led by Hunt Companies. They're the developer. We start with Hillman Garage. Over the next 12 months, we're going to be doing the design, permitting, and lots of public outreach for the design of that building. So we hope that you all, if you're so inclined, will participate in that effort. We're going to have a lot of design meetings. It's very conceptual right now, but it will firm up. And then we hope to start construction for the new Hillman Garage next January. So that's pretty aggressive, but that's what we're shooting for right now. City Dock would start a year later. We're going to go through the same sort of public outreach. The concept design for that is to raise the elevation of the City Dock area to 6 feet in order to get the resilience down there that we need. And then they'll also have mechanical storm surge walls that will give us protection up to 8 feet. That will also have an amazing stormwater management system down there. As you all know, there's no stormwater management there right now. The water just runs off the parking lot and into the storm drain inlet and straight out to Eagle Alley. So those will be the challenges for this project, is to have the stormwater management system we need, especially over at Hillman Garage, which also doesn't have stormwater management, to try and fit it on that tight site. And then to similarly have a stormwater system as well as a flood protection system at City Dock. The Hillman Garage project is expected to take about 16 months. So if it starts next January, it will be done before commissioning week and graduation week for the Naval Academy, when the summer sort of kicks off here in Annapolis. This City Dock project would start a year later, as I mentioned. That's about a 15-month project as well. So that's where we are. It's exciting. There's going to be a lot of public outreach. So I again encourage any of you that want to participate in that, please get involved. This is the future. This is sort of a generational thing or longer for City Dock to revitalize it. We're kind of going off the cues from the City Dock Action Committee consensus plan. So that's our starting point, but there's a whole lot of design work that has to be done, and we need a lot of public input to help with that. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
How you doing?
Dave, can I just add in, what is exciting about the garage construction is that we are building it with flat floor plates. The designs we've seen give us the ability to potentially pull the middle out and create a courtyard. We in 20 or 30 or whatever many years it's going to be when we're all driving around in autonomous vehicles looking at one another, that garage will be able to be converted to office or housing or something like that. So I'm excited about that we're not just thinking about doing things in the short term, but we're thinking about it in the long term. Thank you.
Hi, David. David, this is Betsy. Betsy Love. I was thinking that, the dock is affected by upstream stormwater. And have you thought about some rain gardens, perhaps around State Circle or Church Circle, to capture some of that stormwater before it runs down Main Street?
Or the circle at the bottom of Main Street.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that, Betsy?
Sure.
The reason we stopped the re-bricking of Main Street, and that would be done now if we hadn't have stopped it, is yet again, we're going to do just enough. Just replace what we have, not take advantage of the opportunity to create some kind of catchment for stormwater. We all know what that water looks like when it rolls down Main Street. It is brown and polluted, and it just rolls straight in. Because we held up the bricking of Main Street until we have, added extra parking capacity to keep those people happy, then we can reimagine what we do on Main Street, in some greening, some catchment, and so I'm happy for it. But it was the right decision.
David Jarrell, how you doing? I met you before. I don't know if you remember. We were down at the
I do, Randy. Yeah, I sure do. Good to see you.
The Conowingo Dam burst. I had the kids out. This school on water kids. Anyway, I was just wondering, is there maybe with the development of this project, it could be some department could be installed that dealt with a portion of or percentage of the revenue going towards a particular organizational program that functions under the guise of what we're speaking of now, maybe some of the stuff about environmental center or green career development or HBCU program, anything that deals with some of the topics of environmental development, some way that some of those kind of like a bridge between funds of revenue that could go straight to a program. Is there something like that could exist?
There could be. The other option is to pull in some of those classes like that to participate in some of the work that our designers are doing and some of the thought process that they're going through as they're doing the design. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because this is going to be a pretty complex project from that perspective.
Yeah, so I think
it would benefit them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Can I speak to something, Randy? The National Park Service is also is working with the Chesapeake Conservancy, I believe, to work at the Burtis House, which the city now owns, which is right down on the water. And that could be another opportunity. I know that's kind of, up in the air, but that's all a part of this, of the city dock redo. And that could be another space.
Yeah, is that over there where the Sailing Academy used to be? I mean, the Hall of Fame.
Where they wanted it to be, right?
Building.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy, this is Elvia. So it's a plan to establish the Chesapeake Bay as a national recreation area with certain hubs. And the city around the Burgess House would be one of those hubs. I'm on that committee as well. It's a
Yeah, Vince Leggett is involved with that, correct?
Pardon me?
Vince Leggett?
Actually, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's in on that or not. But
Okay.
it's the organization that's kind of staffing this is the Conservancy, as Amy said. But this is a big deal because it's a national effort.
But you could check with the National Park Service, and the woman's name is, oh gosh, I'm on the Maritime Task Force.
It's Wendy O'Sullivan.
Wendy,
Amy.
right, yeah.
Yeah, Wendy.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, she's very excited about all this stuff. So she would be a good contact, I think, for you.
Yeah, I know exactly who that is. Okay.
David, concerning the flood mitigation, the Newman Street playground will be unaffected, I assume.
That's
Dave,
correct,
can you hear?
Archie. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The playground's unaffected.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for David or the mayor? Okay, we're just about out of time, and I did want to give David Barker a couple minutes to update us on where we are with a no discharge zone for the city waters. David? Okay, David may be muted. I know he's still here, but I can tell you that the application has made its way through EPA. They've gone through the notice of comment period. We thought we would have a designation for the city water by the end of December, but that's been pushed now, and DNR now thinks that will be achieved by the end of January. But after it, EPA approves the no discharge zone for the city waters and the county waters, it still has to be authorized by the state. So it has to go through MDE. So that would be the next step.
So Jackie, that EPA approval is the EPA Region 3 approval in Philadelphia?
No, that's already gone through the region. We're at headquarters. Yeah.
It's through region. It's in DC now. Okay, got it. Good,
final
good.
approval stage.
All right. And so it goes back to the state, to MDE, and then they put it on there.
MDE's already approved it, but the state has to authorize the no discharge zone.
And that authorization comes from what department of the state? Do you know?
It'll be recommended. Well, MDE's already made the recommendation. I'm not sure once, and it has, but MDE has to, I guess, create the state enabling legislation and it sends to the General Assembly. And I'm not sure how that process works after that exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But more to come on that. We should have final decision though coming up, and we have the Severn River Association has funds from both the city and the county to do outreach and implementation.
Hi, Jackie.
Yes.
Hi, Jackie. This is David's wife, Lisa, calling.
Hi, Lisa.
His call accidentally disconnected. Were you calling on him for an update?
I already gave it about the no discharge zone.
Okay, he's here now. I don't know if you've moved on or what. Anyways, I just wanted to make sure he's reconnected.
Okay. I think we've covered everything we need to for no discharge zone. I know that in the last few minutes, Rob, do you want to give an update from the City Council on performance standards?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, just real quick. The city manager's office has been working on performance standards for each of the departments. And that's something new that we're doing. And it's going to be, so every year we're going to have to be approving performance standards. And so the council has been working with their office and with Jackie, and we developed some specific performance measures for our core environmental programs. So that would be the sediment control program, stormwater management, and also forest conservation, which also includes the tree canopy and street tree program. And so the performance measures are put in place for each of the departments that have authority over those programs. And so, for example, with sediment control, there's some standards in there dealing with how we deal with enforcement, keeping track of field correction notices, fines that are issued, response time from the contractor. For forest conservation, they'll be keeping track of things with approval and denial of forest delineations, how much priority forest has been protected, how much forest has been cleared. For stormwater management, keeping track of some of the what percentage of the stormwater is being treated on site by the development projects. And these are already things that are in our code, but it really, I think, is going to assist us with making sure that our programs and our code are being implemented, and also get that data so that the city manager and the council and also public groups can really analyze that to see if there are any trends or other improvements or tweaking that needs to get done with the code. So that's going to be implemented. That has been implemented for the current fiscal year and then for next fiscal year moving forward. So I think that's a positive development for the city.
Any questions for Rob?
Rob, I know that our trails in Truxton Park, they need desperate renovation. I mean, they need wholesale renovation. Is it possible to include those trails in the environmental initiatives that you just listed?
Yeah, and that may be a better question for Jackie or David, but I think that could certainly be something to be included in the department's performance standards for trail maintenance in the parks or something along those lines, or expansion of those systems or other green enhancements to those trails for sure.
Yeah, Archie, we applied for a grant this year on that, so it's very much on the radar for us.
Right. Now, let me really tell you how serious this is. The trail is so bad that I had to get one of the lawyers out of the law office and walk the trail and ask the question at the end, is this a liability? So that's how serious it is.
Which park is this, or is this just in general? Or
this is the Spar Creek. No, specifically Spar Creek Trail that overlooks Spar Creek.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that one. I walk my dogs on that frequently. I know the city's attempted probably about 10 years or more to stabilize portions of that. It's tricky with that soil, but yeah, absolutely. I think it would be something good to work with Spar Creek Conservancy and other groups on really trying to identify some grant funding for that.
I am not an expert in the environmental field, but I believe that particular trail should just be filled in and just build a new one.
Yeah, and years ago, the city did. When they were doing that, trail was closed for a while, and there was an alternate trail that was made away from the shoreline, how to prevent some of that. So yeah, that's certainly, I think, something we could all talk about in the future. Archie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Rob, and Archie, we're going to get that done on our watch, okay?
Yes,
we've had the Moore Group look at it, at a potential hybrid of how we can do it, redirect it. They build trails that are very environmentally sensitive. But, you know, that park is one of our jewels. It is an amazing thing. I walk it all the time. And but, you know, I'm so often surprised how there's hardly anyone knows about it, you know?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Mayor, we're coming up with a short-term and long-term marketing strategic plan for our parks. And one of the things that I want to do is change the name of the park, Truxton Park. Yeah. Truxton to Truxton Community Park. But we'll talk about it.
This is Elvie again about Truxton Park. I walk that all the time too. And whatever is done to stabilize that slope, make the trail safer and all that stuff, I think that we ought to give some thought to helping provide safe access for fishing in that area, because people are climbing down those dangerous slopes to get down to the water, and we're always talking about public access to the water. So here's something that we could do as part of a bigger project.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I always say, our people natural resources. And we often talk about, renewing and preserving our environment, but it's the people also we have to think about that are going to be experiencing and caretakers and inheriting our land. So just another thing to consider in that development as well, looking into some self-improvement aspects and knowledge of self, and allowing individuals to create a quality of life for themselves that makes them want to become stewards of the environment and experience it.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, everyone, and Archie for the additional information. We are now over time. We've covered a lot of ground. Thank you, everyone. I just want to...
I would like to speak 1 minute if I could possibly do so.
Okay, David.
This is David Barker speaking.
Okay, David.
I would just like to take the opportunity to speak for 1 minute and say that in 18 months, I have requested from everybody an outfit. It's worked, and it's not working in the county right now. I will take some money, some time, and give you all. You can hear it better in time. So I don't want to take more time now, but it's very unfortunate how it's worked in this town compared to the rest of the county.
Okay, David, I will call you and follow up with you.
Randy, can I call you?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Any other business anyone wants to raise before we conclude? All right, Mayor Buckley, would you like to wrap up?
Sorry, we've gone over time here. Thank you all for the work you've done. We didn't touch on Robert Eads Park on College Creek. We didn't touch on the city's efforts to get the land on Road Boulevard next to the Hall of Records that we want to make a park out of. We think we have amazing potential there as well. We didn't touch on out on West Street near Gibraltar, where we are going to bring out the end of the Poplar Trail. It's going to go through that new workforce housing development community. And if you've seen the green space next to the Lighthouse Liquor Store, it is completely trashed, but it will be a park when we finish the trail off of that extension of the Poplar Trail, the West East extension. So the three things that we didn't touch on. There's so much great stuff that you're all doing. I'm very excited for this year and the upcoming years to make all these things happen. Thank you. Great job, Jackie.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. Continue to send me your comments, your questions, your concerns, your ideas. And I love hearing from you guys all the time. Always have great ideas. You're such a good resource to all of us at the city. We thank you for your participation, and we will schedule our next quarterly meeting.
Okay, thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
Bye.
And we're going to have a Bobcat watch in